The Tesla Model X has been the big dog for a lot of years. But guess what? There's a new clown in town, and that's the Mercedes EQE. Could in fact that be the new big boy in town? I'm going to share the highlights of both vehicles, top to bottom, my personal opinions, and which one I would consider buying. Let's get into it now.
Life's too short to drive boring cars.
Let's start with the Tesla, and then we'll move over to the EQE Mercedes-Benz and talk about some of the highlights on the exterior of each one of these vehicles.
Well, let's take it from the top. Beautiful styling, typical. What we have here with the Tesla, super clean headlights, always something to behold. Of course here, this is a newer design theme. You've got these inlets here. You'll find this on the newer generation of the Model X. The outgoing model actually had a little bit of a toothpick holder there. This style is much cleaner. Of course, the overall look and the front design of the modern day Teslas, well, really all Teslas for that matter, is that they are just so dialed in, so clean. Here we have the standard wheel package. We have 20-inch wheels. With this particular package, it's a great touch, well balanced, it looks well proportioned. Maybe you give up a little bit in the corners, but not enough for most people on a day-to-day basis. It's a beautiful style, great design. Over here, we now also have, instead of your typical vents that you're finding on most cars, they like to badge themselves. You know, whether it's an M car and a BMW or RS or some kind of badging is always placed here. Not in the Tesla world. They use that space for a set of cameras right there that you'll notice on the backside here for your blind spot monitoring and further detection for your computer. And here, the mirrors, beautiful fold-away. Tesla, everything is automated, but I can't help but point out the reference that it looks a lot like my Jaguar F-Type. Of course, then, as we slide along the upper door sections here, we've got two handles. They're really just a punch, and then the door opens up. And that goes for both sides. A great, clean, shaved look, absolutely very attractive. And the fact that they distinctive with the black trim makes them very, very attractive. And a quick touch, and it's an auto open on the door. Allows you to get in right there. All right, and then when you walk away, the door actually knows with that key in your pocket, it's going to auto close itself. And when we look down here, I can't help but point out a lot of SUVs these days are actually gaining this sort of in popularity, and we're including a lower plastic trim here that's actually going to protect the bodywork from a lot of the stones on the ground that you typically find in some locations. So that's a nice look, and it's going to allow the vehicle to wear very, very well over years to come. Then we circle around to the back, and again, another very clean style of light that you're finding by Tesla. Love all the LEDs. You know they're going to be the most techie LED available on the market, and they don't disappoint. Beautiful touch. And here as we slide around, high gloss piano gloss finishing, wonderful look. Down here, you'll notice this piece here, it no longer says plaid. Early generation models did say plaid. Now they include this beautiful little logo here. Down here is also a slightly revised touch from the older generation Model X. This is updated, very nice piece, and consistent with the rest of the design theme. And then as we look right here, beautiful wing. Absolutely just enough accent at the back here to make it interesting. Now these are fixed in the current generation Model X, so what you see is pretty much what you get. The older generations had some movement in there, and we see some of the fitment problems where it doesn't totally align from one door to the next, or you see other lines down here where it's just offset a little bit.
What we have here is Mercedes-Benz brand new latest EQE 350. That's right, and it's the 4MATIC version. That means it's the all-wheel drive, and you can get this in a variety of different transformational type pieces. You can get the base model rear-wheel drive, of course single motor, or you can get this version, which is the 4MATIC, drives power both to the rear as well as the front, and this is the 4MATIC version, gives you all-wheel drive. This does give you a collective output of 292 horsepower regardless of which drive you go. You can also get an EQE 500 and as well AMG versions. It has about a 300-mile range on this vehicle, and we'll test some of that out when we go for a drive in this vehicle. But on top of it, there have been some reductions in cost-cutting measures with this vehicle relative to the EQS. One, for example, is the rear subframe is all aluminum, where in the EQS, the subframe on the front is also aluminum, but in this case, they went with the carbon steel setup. There will be small marginal changes from the EQE from the EQS, as this vehicle is slightly scaled down from the EQS, and naturally, they're going to cut a few costs here and there, because this vehicle, to a lot of people that I spoke to, represent a much better value proposition, because you're getting the vast majority of the tech, the interior feel that you're getting in the EQS, but you're doing it at tens of thousands of dollars less. Press, and it'll open itself as well. You'll notice you have a great little Mercedes-Benz script on the door handles. Everything is absolutely nicely crafted. I have to give it to Mercedes-Benz. Things have changed in some of the price point vehicles that I found in Mercedes-Benz, like our C300, does feel a little fragile, but so far this vehicle does feel like it's built like a vault. I noticed this covered with a lot of plastic, which is great because when you'll notice a lot of SUV drivers tend to use their vehicles every single day. Doesn't matter if it's snowy or rainy or summer to get the kidlings to school. Of course, as being a Mercedes-Benz, you've probably got executive clients riding along with you in some cases. You want a vehicle that can handle the tough conditions. As you're noticing all the snow and ice, these wheels are 21-inch rims here, and you'll notice also we do have an AMG package here. Now these rims are certainly unique, and they do have a little bit more of an aerodynamic look, not as hideous as some of the older original generation. Mercedes partially gave you that look with these extended flares in here, but it's not the best looking rim if we're being honest. Now down here, all of this hardware and plastic is great because you'll know this collection of salt and gravel and debris in here in the winter. If you're living in the north climates, Canada, US, you're gonna find you get a lot of this kind of junk as they put that on the road. This holds up very well. You get this beautiful chrome detail along here as well, and lots of great styling accent here. And as you cycle to the front, you'll notice lots more of this plastic, and the headlights. Absolutely the latest and greatest from Mercedes-Benz, definitely has a unique look. Now here's a detail I'm not in love with. Now what was Mercedes thinking? But it's certainly like almost every other electric vehicle, they come up with something more unique. And since there's no need for a radiator, you don't need all of those slots and slats. So this is a giveaway that you're driving an electric vehicle. And this vehicle is very aerodynamic, which is certainly going to help some of its economy or battery power. You do get the classic late model design language by Mercedes-Benz. Of course, you have all of this detail tucked in there. And of course, naturally your plug-in action. And the fold-away mirrors are absolutely delightful. Now you get all this beautiful chrome detail, this brushed aluminum. It does feel high quality, and nothing really has any rough edges or sharp edges to it. Actually is wrapped very, very nicely, and it's a sign that they are focused again a little bit more on attention to detail. You'll notice the rubber here does prevent wind noise, does keep moisture out, and certainly does go a long way to keep things quiet overall. And of course, as we look in the back here, you'll notice classic, this is the SUV, not the sedan. We do have the hatchback, we'll show you that here shortly, but you do have a very sloped look. I do love the looks of it. It does look sporty and aggressive. This here at the back, you get the LED taillights, and naturally it looks very much what you're finding on, say, a C300 coupe, and it's very consistent with the design language. But now you get a consistent light bar across the back, looks great. And the EQE 350 script, this one here does a backup camera, and again, as I mentioned, it's a 4MATIC, meaning we get the front and rear drives, putting 292 horsepower to the ground. Let's start at the back, shall we? The key fob also opens this, and it will close it as well. But you can also activate the lock by pressing the button here. It closes and automatically locks the vehicle, or you can just activate a close by pressing this simple button. You have some great details here. And as you look inside, there's lots of room here. You flip this up, and of course, well, guess what? There's no spare tire in here, but you have a lot of extra storage capacity here. It's great. Give that a good reach, and you have a pass through there for extra storage if you got your skis, maybe a little load of lumber, and a little hold here. You can also hook here. You've got a couple spare little hooks, and naturally you've got this great detail right here. You can use this nice little privacy cover or flip this back as you need it right there. So from the exterior standpoint, styling, I give that to the Tesla. You've got the fancy wing, you've got the Falcon doors which flip up, and that's a nice little novel feature. You get a lot better camera systems that monitor the vehicle and its overall safety and health. And Mercedes just has a limited space in the front. Not to mention that the front of the Mercedes-Benz EQE is not as pretty. It sort of has that face that only a mother can love. Whereas the model like this, the X, has all kinds of great styling, and it definitely stands out more than the EQE. So if you want to fly under the radar, the Mercedes might be your choice. But if you want to stand out and you want a vehicle that definitely has a more unique appeal and even increase style capacity, even with these fancy handles, then you've got to go with the Tesla Model X. Well, why don't we move on into the inside of these vehicles? First of all, let's start with the Tesla Model X, and then we'll move over to the interior of the Mercedes EQE and talk about some of the highlights in each vehicle.
Oversized, what I'd say is, not for lack of a better word, but essentially iPad screen, and this is sort of the central controls for Tesla and pretty much every one of their models. Down here you have a whole selection of different options to gain access to your different features and elements. And of course, your controls specific to the vehicle, you'll find over in the bottom corner here. So as we walk down, you can see every control available. You've got from your pedals and steering, suspension, charging, you know, locks, lights, display, trip computer information, navigation. Literally everything is available at the touch of a button right here on the center screen. In the control section, of course, we've got great features. For example, like Sentry mode. I've personally seen where somebody showed up to their Tesla after they came out of the store and the car was keyed. But then they realized that they could go back and monitor and saw exactly who was that did that. And they caught it all on camera. So that's a great feature. And then down there, we actually have the light show controls. Great feature. A lot of fun, makes the car interesting. It's really more about the fun and a great way to show the kids at the birthday parties. Pedals and steering section right there. Of course, you can set your different modes. You've got chill mode, which is essentially chilling out. It's very slow throttle response, nothing too exciting. Sport, of course, gives you a pretty good punch. And plaid mode, which is the full 1020 horsepower of fun and frivolity. And then you have the drag strip mode right there, which essentially lowers the car, gives it the full beans, and allows you to take off with minimum coefficient of drag at about 0.24. And then in the entertainment section or theater, you can actually watch Netflix, YouTube, and of course Disney channels at your whim. And of course, in case you're probably wondering, it doesn't actually work for the driver to watch while you're moving along down the road, but it does work in the back here for the little kidlings as you're driving down the road. So down here, if you want to alter the heating controls, right here you touch the temperature and it gives you a whole selection of menus from, you know, auto, cool, heat, all of those factors are here. Now you can also here, as you notice, you can turn that on and that heats up the steering controls right there. Turn that off, not really needed on a hot sunny day. And of course heated windshield there, and of course heated seats, fully controllable right here. And then if you just want up or down the temperature, you can toggle that, slide that up, slide that down, and you're good to go. So then in the charging section, you'll notice it has your typical range. In this case, we've got 465 kilometers left of range. Our last charge took about $9.90 to fully charge. And then of course there you can actually toggle the amount you want to charge the battery to the max. You can go up to say 80-90% is optimal for normal deterioration of the battery. And if you want to take a long trip, maybe bump it all the way up just to get the extended range. Hey, who's back there? See, here you go. Essentially, you can look at all the cameras on the car by toggling through. You can see what's going on there. So you can select to drive forward. You slide it forwards on the left-hand side, or go in reverse, and it gives you the backup camera prior to doing so. It's a great little nifty touch. And of course, instead of your control on the stock or down in the console, Tesla has elected to do it all via the screen. Right there, and you've got wireless charging there for your cell phones. Two sides, easy to use, and it's always there for quick look. Of course, we've got the centralized location here too. Great. You can give that a push. It slides back. Push it again. Of course, nice little extra cubby hole there. A couple of cup holders here, and you can go further. There's actually a larger compartment down and below that you can access for further hiding of goods. And another great little quirk is the sun visor, which actually hides away neatly until you use it right there. And you've got this fun little bite-sized flip down here. On the other side has a mirror on it. Beautiful, nice touch. And allows you to maintain sort of some of that look that you get and you gain and enjoy by running the Tesla Model X. So we'll slide this back and it's out of sight, out of mind. Other cars haven't really gone that full thought process, but this is clearly a nice finish here. Up here, soft touch everything, lights, easy to use, beautiful touch there. And on the back, you'll notice you've got a small glass panel on the roof for the kids. As well, they can enjoy a little bit of light. Naturally, up the center section, you're not able to enjoy a full glass panoramic situation because you've got the Falcon wing doors and all the structure and mechanics are in here. And the great thing about this car, the Model X Plaid actually only comes in the 6 seats. As you can see, we've got 2 in the front, 2 in the center, and 2 in the back. If you get the standard Model X, of course, you can get 5, 6, or 7 passenger seats. This is just the way it works. That's just how they come equipped.
Now, from a price perspective, the Tesla is slightly more for base price. But as you start speccing up into AMG models of the EQE, you find the Mercedes Benz can be even more money than a Model X. Even when you spec up to the Model X Plaid with the 1,000 horsepower, it can still come under the radar of a fully loaded AMG version Mercedes Benz EQE. And I just want to slide right on in here and I'll show you. Other than the fact that we have this absolutely massive panoramic glass here, it's gorgeous. And you'll also notice as you slide over, there's no hump in the middle because you don't have the drive line, you don't have a transmission, you don't have a drive shaft per se, and you certainly don't have this hump here. So it allows this easy pass through for your foot. It's absolutely very comfortable. You have a set of vents, beautiful, and naturally, if you flip this down, you actually get a set of plugins because let's face it, everybody is connected these days. Now these seats are a little more upright. I have driven the EQS, and unfortunately the EQS does give you a little bit more, recline. This vehicle just does it very nice. The materials are very nice, and I will comment, even though there's a lot of plastic in this vehicle, nice looks with stitching. You've got contrast stitching throughout, piano gloss finishing. Not everybody loves the piano finishing, but you do get this brushed aluminum look, more brushed aluminum. And one thing that I can't quite get used to is its handle. This is a quirky little handle. I'm not loving these all that much because every time I open the door and I get in, and this is just me getting used to this, but just as a heads up, I'm always reaching for something. I'm stumbling and I'm reaching, I'm like stubbing my hand. It's there. And when you know it's there, that's fine. But I find often it doesn't come that intuitively, if I can say that. Magazine rack there on both sides, and you get this beautiful light and this gorgeous touch of chrome here. Look at this, you look like you're in a spaceship. Very unique looking headrest, I will comment. And naturally, you give this a flip down, you do get this nice little armrest and pop that out. And of course, what you have here is a nice little cell phone holder. You can push that back, flip that back there, and you have seating for 3 in the back seat. Absolutely gorgeous here, lots of room. As you'll notice, tons of knee space. Now that seat's pushed up quite far, but you know what? I've got lots of room here, and I've got a fair amount of headroom. This SUV carries that back roof line quite far back, so it does give you a lot of space in here. Now you do get nice little lights here, side airbags, and this beautiful finishing. I will comment, even though it may feel synthetic, it absolutely does amaze me with the quality and the nice soft touch. Anything that you're touching in this vehicle does feel certainly upscale. It's absolutely a gorgeous unit. Let's take this to the front seat now, shall we? And there we are, reaching for that door handle. That just doesn't feel that intuitive. We can just look around. There's a whole host of beautiful tech in this vehicle. We have this nice, obviously we have accent lighting here. What I'm going to do is turn the vehicle on. You have a simple push start here, and then it lights everything up. Now Mercedes is rocking the latest MBUX system, MBUX. It works very nice. Everything is very nicely detailed. You'll notice everything touchscreen is very responsive, and this particular screen is great. You can get an upgrade that goes the full width, but this actually works better. It's less distracting, absolutely wonderful. This is a little bit odd. This very much matches the front grille of this vehicle. Not the biggest fan of the look of it, but hey, it's there. It's high gloss. Feels kind of hollow. You get this vent that runs the entire width of the dash, and you get this spaceship looking grills, of course, blowing the heat out, and all kinds of beautiful brushed aluminum. You can see that wonderful accent lighting that you're noticing right there is just giving this beautiful ambiance. I will say the main screen is wonderful. You do get the haptic controls, and just by a quick little swipe, what you do is you get this scrolling. You'll notice you can get different features, the beautiful displays. You can get understated. I love the look, sport, classic. You get the navigation screen, assistance, off-road, and service. Why don't we try off-road here? And now we have more of an off-road look to it. I love the design. It gives you a nice little gauge in the middle, tells you which direction you're facing, and all of the whole host of information. But let's face it, this is an electric vehicle, and it doesn't need all this fancy tech because all the tech is going underneath. Now, in terms of interior fit and finish, which one do I prefer? Well, let's face it, the Mercedes-Benz has a much nicer quality feel. It has cooled seats up front. It has a much more exclusive dashboard layout. It's a much nicer place to be. It feels more well put together. The materials are nicer. And honestly, a lot of the technology feels a lot more dialed in, as it would be from a company that's been building vehicles, luxury vehicles, for many, many years. The Mercedes also gives you a nice little pass through. And on top of it, the air quality is much better in the Mercedes than it is in the Tesla, because they have an air monitoring system or an air quality system that can actually filter a lot of the air. I find the air quality not as nice in the Teslas. You feel like you're starting to sweat. The back is starting to sweat, and it just doesn't feel as nicely filtered. It doesn't feel as comfortable for longer trips. It's great for short trips, but long, not so much. And the interior overall, even though with the Model X is the upscale, you do actually get a gauge cluster, you can get a proper steering wheel or the yoke. It does feel more like a conventional vehicle. The fact remains is the overall quality is not the same as you'll find in the Mercedes EQE.
Lowering, we're lowering, we're lowering. And...
Oh, yeah, that's a face ripper, man. That thing f***ing hauls. Woohoo!
Honestly, I can't keep it stable.
Oh,
That's what I said, but you need that one. And
it's just like I think the fact that you don't hear it, it's almost like.
No, it's weird.
Have you ever been on that roller coaster at Disney World? Whoa.
See the braking, buddy. It's lacking.
I heard it there.
Well, it's almost like it's not that it doesn't brake. It almost seems like it's like skidding.
It's struggling. Yeah.
It's more of a traction issue.
And there's a trouble because it's road, right?
Yeah.
You have rocks and.
Oh.
But it's heavy.
You know what? Like, honestly,
That is incredible.
I'm a little sick because I've been watching the screen.
Oh, yeah, that's.
It's still like it's nice and smooth. Like
Oh,
you can just go crazy. You can drive. You can gradually ramp it up.
I like that. None of this like clunk clunk.
No,
It's just-
like it's so.
Yeah.
Because you've never been in a.
No, this is the first time for me.
Yeah.
Not an electric car for me at all.
You're literally in the craziest. Besides the Plaid S, the craziest one out there.
Oh, it's insane. I'm not disappointed at all. It's freaking ridiculous. That Ferrari was great. I mean, they add a little sound. That's the only difference.
Yeah.
But man, for sheer,
It's a different experience.
it is. And you know what? Like you say, it almost feels like at one point you're like, is it going to run out? Is it going to run? No, keeps pulling harder. It's just,
That's what they did better on.
it's crazy.
It does, like when you do that, it does eat up battery pretty good.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you're pulling, how many kilowatt hours is that? 1,000 horsepower. That's 700 kilowatts at
Yeah.
a couple of seconds. The whole battery is only 100 kilowatt hours,
Yeah.
so it's not. So
Oh, yeah.
you can be doing. This is where the lackluster part was last time. It's like you're doing 70, but you can punch it, and it still puts you in the hole.
Holy smokes. No, that is incredible. No, that is freaking amazing. You're right. There's nothing like it. I
Wait,
mean,
there's one more.
Now let's fire this up, and I want to show you some things that I found with this vehicle. It is equipped with the rear steering. Gives you an extra 7 feet, trims it off your radius for turning, and I thought it was particularly weird. As well, you have the dynamic braking or the regenerative braking, which is quite interesting too. So as you ramp up the aggression, it actually pulls the brake pedal away from you. So it's a very strange feeling, and the quick steering is very odd too, but let's take that away and I want to show you. But to do that, first of all, you have your gear selector here. You have park just by pressing that. You have obviously reverse, neutral, and drive. So let's go into drive, shall we? And then of course it tells you you're ready to go. Now as we go here, and I want to show you, this is what's particularly really handy at low speeds. Now if you're in a parking lot, this feels very cool. I mean, I could turn this thing on a dime. Look at this, absolutely bananas on a dime. And then of course you've got the rear wheel steering doing about 10 degrees of rear steer on this vehicle. Does allow you to turn extremely sharply, which helps in these tight, aggressive parking lots that you're finding some days. This is absolutely a wonderful feature. And that's the thing with these EQE and EQS. There's a very synthetic feel about the whole driving experience. You know, with a lot of these electric vehicles, everything's driven by motors, electric motors and actuators, and very little mechanical feel. You don't have very much direct response. You know, whether it's steering, the steering is highly assisted. You get that over boosted turning radius because you've got that rear wheel assist, and of course the electrification. You get some strange sounds in the cabin. If you're coming from a Tesla that has absolutely demented build quality, then you can appreciate what this thing's giving you. And it's actually giving you a strong 300-mile range is what they report. But I've been driving around for a while and I find that the range is holding. I'm still sitting at 97% on there, and it seems to be doing exactly as it promised. So let's take off, shall we? We've got these paddle shifters, really more for effect, but there's some odd, peculiar sounds here. We're gonna go and drive, and we're gonna take off, shall we? Here, we're gonna pull the window closed, naturally one touch, simple open, simple close. I will definitely say this is probably going to be one of the quietest vehicles you drive anywhere at any point. This new Mercedes series of vehicles are built on an absolutely amazing rear suspension setup, amazing chassis design, insulation. I showed you some of the trim on the exterior. Absolutely cuts out a lot of the wind noise from the outside, and the sound deadening is absolutely immense. Now here, as we punch it, we'll just give it a little gusto. Oh, not bad, not bad. Remember, it's only got 300 horsepower, so if you want to giddy up and go and you really want the boost, you're probably going to have to step into something more the AMG versions of 500s, but it does actually offer up what feels to be a little bit more than 300 horsepower. Put your foot into it and it's quite abrupt. So driving along, you hear this noise, clicky engine noise, a strange sound reverberating throughout. Now, as we pull up, the regenerative braking is kicking in. I barely need to touch the brakes. As I coast up to a stop, I find the braking, just like you're finding if you're used to any electric vehicles, you're finding a lot of these actually do slow the vehicle down probably 80–90%. And the more aggressive you set it up, the more regenerative braking it actually does. So in other words, the more recharge it does on the batteries. Now you're going to have to plug it in. It's an electric vehicle, but it does offer a small amount of battery boost on your next driving experience. So the more aggressive you set that up, the better it's going to resist running the batteries short. I will say, looking out the front, it's more raked than you would normally get from typical Mercedes-Benz vehicles. It does have sort of a sharp raked windshield, and the back, looking out, it's more of a porthole, if you will. Now granted, this is an SUV, and a lot of SUVs do have those really aggressive thick rear pillars, and this one really is no different. So you're going to find that it's probably not a huge departure from anything you've been driving. If you're used to driving luxury SUVs, they tend to do that. They tend to bolster everything up thicker, beefier. Tires you'll probably wear through a lot faster. We know the extra weight on these vehicles I would expect, and they're going to be expensive. With a 21-inch skin on these vehicles, it's a Mercedes, you're still going to pay to play, right? Does it replace a twin turbo V12 Mercedes? Not at all. But let's face it, I mean, things are changing, and the whole idea of what the new car market represents, and that's moving to more green energy sources, this is inevitably or invariably where the world is trending. Now, until the day comes where, everybody, Porsche, and, they're looking at alternative fuels, Toyota's looking at alternative fuels, and there may be a time where electric might be a sort of a stopgap. It feels like this is just something we're going to see more and more and more, and have to get more accustomed and more used to driving these electric vehicles and all the nuances. Very highly boosted, the steering, the throttle response, everything feels very, very boosted and assisted. And nothing feels very authentic, if I can say that. It's not like driving an old Porsche 911 from the 70s where you get that wafting fumes of oil, wafting fumes of gas, where your steering is literally direct. We've lost that, and we're not getting that back in this vehicle. Driving this vehicle does make the Teslas feel a little bit ho-hum. A lot of the Korean vehicles they're getting from Genesis and all those don't feel that great either. It does feel a little bit less authentic than you're getting in BMWs, like the i4, for example. Probably a slightly better driving experience, but this one here, I think, isolates. It feels like it isolates you more from the exterior noise, the sounds that you're hearing. I just had a big truck sail by, like a big gravel truck, and normally that would have blown my eardrums out. I could barely hear it. So as you look out the back, the rear has certainly a limited perspective, and as you look around there, you're very, very restricted with the visibility, and it's something you just have to sort of get used to. Now looking out the front, you'll notice it's actually not bad at all, and the front has a fair amount of visibility, although that being said, it's quite raked. If you look at the windshield, it is very, very raked and very sharp, but a lot of that is all based to get your best fuel economy. Obviously, less wind resistance, just ultimately means you're probably going to cut through the wind a lot easier. You're probably going to improve your fuel economy slightly, hence why you get these weird, awkward looking wheels. You get these weird, awkward looking front designs, and these grills which have less gap in them and certainly less of that grate in there. This is a breath of fresh air because this is competitive with the likes of the Teslas, the Model X, because the X is more of the SUV. Obviously this does feel very much a slightly more refined experience. The suspension is nice, the dynamic braking is nice, the over assisted, I mean, that's something that not everybody loves, and I'm not the biggest fan. I will say that rear steering is a huge benefit, and I would suggest if you're going to buy one of these vehicles, I would certainly check that box for the rear steering and the all-wheel drive package. I mean, let's face it, when you're driving around in the snow and the ice and some of these nasty road conditions, it sure is nice to have that extra traction available. If you're looking for a luxury SUV in the electric space, I think you could certainly do worse. I'm gonna give this certainly top grades for quality control. I don't hear any squeaks, no rattles, no noise. I could just barely hear the slosh on the wheels, but very minor. This vehicle rolls down the road exceptionally well, quietly, holds the line perfectly straight. And I actually like the tech. The MBUX system by Mercedes-Benz is absolutely exceptional. I would say arguably almost as good as what BMW is doing with their iDrive systems. And we know BMW is more or less the pioneers of the quality systems. They own the experience. This really is brought Mercedes-Benz up to a whole new level. The only thing awkward about this vehicle, the design, I'm not loving the grille, and depreciation. That's the big elephant in the room. We all have seen depreciation on EQS's, EQEs dump massively. You know, buyers buying these and finding a year later that they're worth 50% less in one short year. That's something you have to think about. If you're interested in buying one of these vehicles, I would suggest it's probably going to be for the long haul, because or you're not going to want to own it for a short period of time, because if you're the person that's flipping, buying, selling, and moving these vehicles, trading hands every couple of years, you're going to find yourself eating crow for value. But I will say it's a very nice vehicle, and if it's something you finally commit on and you've decided, you know what, I want to pull the trigger on an electric luxury vehicle, you could certainly do worse. It's a beautiful vehicle, beautiful SUV, and certainly at least worth the look. 300 horse, all-wheel drive, all the luxury amenities. Maybe you don't need to spend the top shelf dollars with the EQS. Maybe this EQE is all the doctored order. Let's break this down, which ones I would actually consider buying. Here in the Mercedes-Benz, it has the name. It has the luxury appointments interior-wise. It's superior, better ride quality, and you're going to be generally more comfortable. That being said, it's got a style that really, it's a love-hate. I'm not a big fan of that front look. Big piece of plastic, you get the big three-pointed star, but it's not the best looking car if you ask me. Sure, there's some nice features on the exterior of the EQE. You got plugs, these nice recessed handles, which do feel nicer quality than what you're getting in the Tesla. The tail lights are nice. They almost look like something from a C-Class. You get the little wing, and of course, all kinds of nice detailing, piano gloss finishing everywhere. It does feel a little bit more luxurious. That being said, in my own personal opinion, you've got vehicles like the Tesla Model X Plaid. It has many other benefits. The Falcon doors is a big win. The Tesla has the better charging system. They own and dominate the battery market. Tesla has a better network of charge stations. They definitely have a better technology with the batteries. Their integration of their center screen is much better. On top of it, these ones here get from about 280 to 300 miles of range, and the Tesla Model X, or the long range, or specifically even the Plaid, range much higher. You get 335 to about 360 miles range with the Tesla Model X. So overall, you're going to get farther on a charge with the Tesla. You get a more consistent battery charging network. You have some fun technology, and to boot, you have more space in the front and generally a better looking vehicle. With 1,000 horsepower on tap for the Plaid and the long range having its own benefits and plenty quick enough, it seems pretty clear to me, while this is going to feel nicer while you're driving down the road, and it's certainly going to feel more comfortable, rear wheel steering, all wheel drive, it's a great driving experience. The Tesla Model X long range and Plaid are definitely for the win. With that said, if you're looking for a deal on one of these, you've got to buy them used. Right there, check out why are used Teslas and electric vehicles so cheap. Hope to see each and every one of you real soon. See you then. Bye-bye.